Are men falling behind? Male feminists versus female anti-feminists. Oh, God, I hate this. Video is going to make me... This video is going to make me fucking die. It's going to make me perish. All right, let's do it.
Can I ask you a question, though, or ask the group a question? There's more world leaders who are male, and typically I think
Good,
leadership...
that's a good thing. Women should not be positions of extreme leadership like presidents, et cetera, et cetera.
What is this, the Pick Me Olympics, dude? Fucking got him. Owned. Okay, let's watch.
Because we're too emotional.
I'm feeling a lot of emotion right now.
Oh, dude. Weakest male feminist. Weakest male feminist. Look at him. What the fuck, dude? He's like, why is he standing like that? Oh my God. Dude, you know what's funny? Wait, what? He called you lame. Perhaps this drove you to prove yourself cool. Perhaps by leaking secrets to earn respect. Shut up. I did not do it. I did not have anything to do with this. I don't play Minecraft. And I am not in the Orthodox Christianity Thug Shaker server, which I think we all know. Thug Shaker, in and of itself, could go both ways as a meme. Like, is it edgy, Groiper shit, or is it like, a Discord server reeling as a consequence of the latest Trap Lore Ross documentary that tied King Von to 11 different murders, calling him the serial killer of rap. It could go either way. Both of those communities actually kind of merge with a lot of the white children living in Naperville. So, that's not, but like they're the right-wing version of that for sure. Like the expressly right-wing version of that. Bro, you know a lot for not being in the Discord? Yeah, I read a fucking article about it. Come on now. All right, let's watch this. This is kind of a funny moment, though, because, like, as men, if they're going up against women who are anti-feminist, if these men are going up against feminists, like, don't they have a dominant hand in the conversation because, like, they're men? Like, I don't really get it. They could just be like, I'm a man, you're a woman, shut the fuck up. And then the argument is over, right? And they have to go, yes, master, I live to serve you.
If you agree, step forward. Women have more privileges today than men.
I went back and forth on this one, thinking about the difference between more and different. I think women have distinctly different privileges than men have, but with this new feminist movement that is arising, more of the third, fourth wave, we are finding, I think, that women are placed and pedestalized above men in a lot of ways. There's affirmative action hiring and scholarships where women, sometimes even regardless of academic standing or achievement, are prioritized above men. But men also have different privileges that they get to have.
Wait, hold on. Is that the case? Is that what's going on? Because I thought the best way to deal with the disparity in academia was that, like, men need like some form of affirmative action because they're getting fucking lapped in academia by women, since women are, allowed to do those things that men were allowed to do. So like, because that's the actual truth of the matter. I don't know what the fucking Daily Wire PragerU commentator, who's just simply a random woman they found on the street, is saying, but it's always like that, by the way. It's always like a fucking talking head from the right versus like some normie off the street that they picked up.
Access. I struggle to say more, but I think I do agree with the feminist movement now. There is more.
If you are born into this life with a vagina, you inherently have 10 times more privilege than a man. From the time they are little, girls are always like doted on and you're so pretty and cute.
Very coddled.
They're coddled.
There's a very misogynistic saying in Turkish that I'm going to bring up right now, which I think is very funny. Is haha misogyny. Ironic misogyny is still misogyny, Hasan. You're trash. Yes, that's right. I am. Dünya kadar malım olacağına fındık kadar amım olsun. Okay? Now, what that translates directly to is I would rather have a pussy the size of hazelnut than the biggest penis on the planet. Misogynistic, but that basically reduces the anti-feminist argument in and of itself. That's it. That's what these people think. Okay? Yeah. It rhymes in Turkish, so it makes a little bit more sense. Sıçtım batırdım bari sıvama. Ne güzel açıkladın. Aynen öyle abi. Aynen abi. Bunları anlatamayacağım ama. No, rhyming doesn't convey meaning. It rhymes, and basically, it's the same thing that they're saying, which is that women have it better. Bir kere düzgün bir şeyimizi söyle, ağlayacağım. Nope. It's basically saying that like women have it easier. That's the saying. Okay, that's the point. PBS's Age of Easy Money Frontline Dog is really good. Anyway, let's continue.
Model, right? As they should be. We want that feminine, nurturing energy in them. You can kind of be a degenerate woman and have a hot body and be a millionaire on OnlyFans. Yes. Men don't have that privilege. Now, women.
Excuse me. Hello? I'm right here. That's weird that you said that. Also, that's so wrong. Like, no, what does she think that there aren't like sexy guys who make a lot of money? Like, I don't really understand. What the fuck? Does she think that OnlyFans is only women? Is that what? Okay.
Women don't have to like work to get a guy. They're just hot. And then guys come to them and spend their resources on them. A man has to prove himself. He has to build a body. He has to make money. He has to build influence. He has to become a protector, a provider. Women just have that naturally by just having a vagina, as I said.
That's why it's frustrating, because the feminist movement has been all about women acting like they don't have rights and acting like they have it pretty hard in the modern day world. I can't think of a single thing that I don't have that a guy has. Or
my favorite thing for a lot of anti-feminist women and the way that they like cut this kind of propaganda. One of my favorite parts about this conversation always is like, things are actually really great because I perceive them to be really great. And I like the things that other people would consider to be oppressive. So obviously there's no oppression. Oh, okay, got it. Thanks. Okay, I guess you're right then. It's literally that. It's like, in my personal view, I think it's great that, men are seen as the caretakers, and therefore it should stay that way, and therefore women should shut the fuck up. And also, even if they are actually working in the workplace, that's a bad thing. And we should go back to a time when they didn't have that. It's like, the fact that you have this choice means that, feminism has basically succeeded to a certain degree in at least taking away some aspects of the patriarchal constructs that we still exist under. You know what I mean? Like, that's it. And there are obviously also meaningful ways in which you take advantage of that reality on your day-to-day basis, like the fact that you can go on a fucking show and chirp. You know what I mean? Like, that in and of itself is literally like you're on a show, you're talking, and men are listening to you. You know what I mean? Like, there you go. What the fuck? You're taking advantage of that. You're taking advantage of like fights that women and men before you has fought.
That
you
they
know,
only have.
like,
I would say the
yet
one
they
thing I
only
would
have.
say is the safety thing. That's the only thing that I would say is that women are disadvantaged from. By nature, women are not as physically strong. I mean, you're physically strong, but as physically strong.
I'll take it.
It's great biceps. And men just are. And if you're walking down a dark alley as a woman, you're going to feel some type of way sometimes,
That's
right?
why we need guns.
Well, there you go.
I'm going to talk a little bit more about like the judicial system. When it comes to, let's say, domestic dispute, if a woman calls the police, they automatically show up, arrest the man. The Duluth model, I think is how you pronounced it. And that's already in place. It's not necessarily like a right or anything.
Famously, police are very good at dealing with domestic abusers. Yeah. I'm learning so much. Yeah. You're learning made up shit. Okay. Police are first of all, cops are not going to arrest themselves in that situation. Okay. Let's be real. And also, no, this is ridiculous. Police are horrifyingly bad at dealing with domestic abuse, whether it be perpetrated by a man or a woman. Okay, they're like really bad. Sure, I believe that they still end up statistically flubbing it worse when it is a male abuser than a female one. But you know, they're bad across the board.
But it's certainly in all of the police departments, is if feminism is all about equality, why would you automatically arrest a man? When they arrest him, his name is in the newspaper automatically. The fact that a woman can say Jane Doe and she doesn't have to put her name out there, what skin in the game is there?
And there's so many instances of that. I know men personally who have had domestic violence within their relationship with children involved, unfortunately. And the woman attacked the man in front of the child, and he's still, I know 2 instances personally, and he's still fighting to get the child back. That's from the Me Too movement. Congratulations. You guys got that.
It kind of invalidates the
All conservative rhetoric just can be sourced with one incredible sourcing mechanism. It's called "I made it the fuck up," or "a buddy of mine made it the fuck up." It's always like the same thing. I know a guy, a buddy of mine, a friend of mine did this. This happened to a friend of mine. This happened to me. It's all just fucking, I made it the fuck up.
women who do come forward and who have faced rape and sexual assault and all of that, because then it kind of turned into a Twitter hashtag.
That's correct.
Where women were like, oh, you know what, I want to join, like, this seems fun. Like,
For clout.
it's not
it's
fun.
I think it's a mixed bag. I don't think the Me Too movement was inherently harmful. It's the Me Too movement when you
Right.
couple it with something like believe all women. That's when it becomes
And the
inherently harmful.
victimization
It
of women who
encouraged people.
aren't really victims.
The prompt is, do women have more privileges? We have privileges simply by virtue of being women. We have privileges with affirmative action. We have privileges in family court, and we have privileges as far as being believed and forgiven. It's
Correct.
that's something that should be acknowledged.
That's correct.
Can I have the disagreeer step forward?
I appreciated the distinction of more versus different privileges. You can't just use a broad brush and paint the entire debate and say, all right, well, this is men have more than women, that's it. Like, women that must inherently then have no privileges. That's not how it works. And that's where we start to get into the idea of like intersectionality, where another woman who had a different experience, if it was a trans woman, if it was a woman of color, if it was
But
a
I
woman
don't
who
think we're
was,
including trans women into feminism.
and I think
Oh, I'm shocked to find out that the anti-feminist is also anti-trans. That's crazy. That's so shocking. They're not even a TERF, man. They can't be a TERF. They're not even a radfem. They're anti-feminist. They're trans-exclusionary radical anti-feminists. They're TERFs, not even TERFs.
we definitely should.
I don't
Like,
think we should
I don't think
at
we
all.
should.
I think that trans women should not be a part of the feminist movement because a man, just because they, wake up and feel like they can be a woman one day, could come in and then suddenly know what it's like to have a period or know what it's like to have a child. It's anything from men replacing women in sports to men replacing women on podcasts during Women's Month and when we're talking about women's health, or you've even got
I just want to point to something real quick. Like, the reason I wanted to bring up some statistic about domestic violence, but field survey, response from the field, sexual assault, domestic violence, and policing is based on a nationwide survey of 900 advocates, attorneys, and service providers and nonprofit workers who support or represent domestic violence and sexual assault victims. As a top-line finding, 88% of respondents reported that police sometimes or often do not believe victims or blame victims for the violence. Advocates identify police inaction, hostility, and bias against survivors as a key barrier to seeking intervention from the criminal justice system. This is the reason why a lot of places will then try to make it a law to like automatically arrest a man. Why? Obviously, women can be abusive to men as well. Do not misunderstand me. But the reason for why they do that is so that they can, I guess, use a hammer, okay? Because when you're a hammer, everything looks like a nail. Use the hammer force, the police force, to at least like arrest everybody, solve it later. Even then, they still fuck up, for the record. And regardless of that, that is a big reason as to why. A big reason as to why the victims, oftentimes women, will be reluctant to call the police. Okay? Janelle is a sexpert on TikTok. Amala is a fake podcast reactionary. Torsha is a self-proclaimed red pill YouTuber. And Kaylee is a rising star, her words, in Instagram right-wing stuff. Nice. Also, she's not even a feminist. Why the fuck does she even care if trans women are included or not? That's a great question. See, that's the funniest part about it. She keeps talking, if you're anti-feminist, why do you care if men are fucking dominant? In your mind, if you think trans women are men, why the fuck do you care if men are dominating women? Women shouldn't even be doing sports, right? Like, or do you think women should be doing sports? Like, you're anti-feminist, but then you're also advocating for this from a supposed busted feminist perspective, because there is no belief. It's just cruelty. That's the point. Okay? What, you think half the fucking conservative men literally genuinely give a shit about women's sports in high school? What are you, fucking psychotic? No, they make fun of professional female sports. They've historically done it, and they still will do it. But only as it pertains to trans people existing in society will they, for a brief moment, act like all of those things that they've said about women's sports, about how it sucks, how it's unwatchable, all of that washes away for that brief moment where they can make the consistent argument about how, you know, it's about equality in women's sports, even though it's not like fucking trans people are just like absolutely eviscerating cis women in any fucking field, okay?
Biological men who think they're women going to the White House speaking on behalf of all women.
I do have a question for you based on the prompt, though, because you've lived in both experiences, at least socially. I'm curious, when you transitioned to male and people started perceiving you as male, like most people did today, what privileges changed for you, or what did you see enter your life that you didn't have before?
Yeah, and that's sort of where a lot of my beliefs in feminism do lie, is because being out into the world as a gay woman was the way I was seen. Men treated me definitely not nearly as well as they did. I was bullied in school. I had people call me slurs, and it seemed like it was because I was threatening to like the male structure that we are in, where it's like male and female. Because I was a female who liked females, I was somehow infringing on that, and so they didn't like me. Things change naturally when you socially transition and are perceived by the world in a different way. When I transitioned from being perceived as female to the world to just pretty much passing or blending full-time as male, was that I got a lot more respect from other men. People listened to me and took me seriously. In a social passing setting, people aren't going to harass women who are around.
Yo, trans men are in such a unique position where they literally, due to social perceptions, because gender is an expression, ultimately, due to social perceptions, literally get to see that thing that like feminists literally talk about. You literally get leveled up. It's also, I think, part of the reason why trans men are oftentimes not even in the conversation about transphobia. You know what I mean? Well, a couple different reasons. One, because testosterone is like super powerful. And I think like everybody knows that regardless of what your gender expression might be, passing socially is often not just for like, is often not for vanity reasons, but instead for security and safety reasons, right? So, testosterone being super powerful literally benefits in that regard, as far as like being able to be gender affirming and pass. And I think that like the other part of the reason is because like I said, because they are more often seen as men, slash also that, they are men, that they get bullied less almost, or are seen as like an invisible side, even though obviously, trans man, trans woman, doesn't matter. People are still going to be fucking incredibly bigoted once they find out. And trans men do get impacted from the anti-trans legislation, of course. I'm not saying that that's not the case. But I think in comparison to trans women, like it is often, it's like almost a joke the way we, it's almost a joke in the way that we, even when we talk about it, like it just like breaks fucking conservatives' brains, right? Where like the trans male shooter in Nashville literally was being like, it broke people's brains to a degree because it was a trans man, that they literally were like, people were like trying to make him, they were trying to misgender him. And then when they were trying to misgender him, they would accidentally end up correctly gendering him as a trans man, because like conservatives, like it's outside of their periphery. Like they can't even comprehend it.
On me if I'm walking with them at night, which is just a benefit I never thought about.
With caveat, actually, so I say that yes, there are some privileges that women have that men don't, but also there's privileges that men have that women don't. I don't think women are more privileged in our society, because I could get a woman pregnant and I could just run away.
They could get you
Well, they
for
can
child
get you for
support.
child support, which they
But
do.
are you saying she can't run
You
away?
can go to jail.
Are you saying
They could
she
take
can't
your
run away
money.
from the pregnancy?
But you could actually physically leave. I know what you're saying.
At the end of the day, like,
That's crazy that she literally just completely fucking, I guess, forgot that like pregnancy, especially a forced pregnancy that you're forcibly carrying to term, is literally akin to torture. It's like your body. Did you forget that? Like there's, on the one hand, you're talking about fucking child support. On the other hand, like you're talking about a financial responsibility, of potential financial responsibility versus like literal fucking torture. Like, yeah, sure. Not great. Okay? But it is wild that the other one could like kill you. You know what I mean? And the likelihood that it kills you, especially if you're a black woman, goes up significantly when you are a black woman. Alpha lit.
I don't see women having more privileges than men, because
I gotta pee, I'll be back.
There's no way to objectively measure it.
Well, and in the scenario that you pointed out, I mean, if a woman was pregnant, she wouldn't be able to get an abortion in most
In some
parts
states,
of the country.
yes. Yeah. In some
That's
states,
That's a
absolutely
major
true as well.
disadvantage.
Yeah. You can't get an
Corner case.
abortion, but children can go get a gender change at 12 with a
Feels
parent
like you're
at
very
15
fixated on that.
without consent.
That's not true.
It feels like you're very
as
fixated
someone who
on
went
that.
I know the laws as well.
I went through this.
I know, in some states you can, and in Thailand you can go at 16 and get your everything cut off.
Guys, it's less than 5%.
I know.
It
It's such a
doesn't
small-
matter.
it's such a small
It doesn't
subset
matter.
of the
Let's
But you
be
population.
can't. But you can't say that about. It does matter though. When you have a child, you're not a
That's
parent
between
yet.
the parent and the child.
Can I ask you a question though, or ask the group a question? There's more world leaders who are male, and typically I think
Good, and
leadership.
that's a good thing.
I know it's
Well, he
weird
was
coming
talking
from
to
me,
me.
but I do want to know. It doesn't bum you out that it's less likely for a woman to become president?
I don't feel bummed out because I know that if I want to pursue something that I want to do, I have every capability to do it in this country.
I don't feel bummed out. Women should not be in positions of extreme leadership like presidents, et cetera, because we're too emotional.
I'm feeling a lot of
emotional,
emotions
too. Men
right
can be
now.
impulsive.
I'm not saying that men can't be emotional.
Like we had a
Men are
president,
more
we had a president
logical.
who would literally just
And now
go
we
on
have a
Twitter
president whose
every
brain
day,
doesn't
every
work.
second.
Wait, one person so she can hear us.
To be logical and to be sound is not something defined by gender. It's just something defined by your own psychology.
The left and right brain, it
That's just
actually
false.
is though.
That's
It's
just
not
false.
false. It's not
Come
false.
on, man.
It
Come
is
on.
not
Really?
false.
Really?
No, your question about leadership, I think, is a very poignant question because a lot of people are asking that. Why don't we see more female presidents? Why don't we see more female CEOs or Fortune 500 companies? And again, it goes back to those gender differences.
No, I don't want to skip. I don't want to go back. I don't want to go back and rewind and fucking react. Yeah, she says some dumb shit. Guess what? This is fucking 54 minutes long. She's going to say way more dumb shit, okay? Calm down.
Women who will be exceptions to the generalized rule of what it means to be feminine, and those women you will see succeed in extreme leadership.
Shut the fuck up! God damn it! It's 54 minutes long. Yes, she immediately said women can't get abortion, but, trans children can get trans-affirming health care, which is fucking insane and not even equivalent, okay? Shut up. I heard. It's dumb. There's going to be way more dumb shit in this fucking video. God damn it.
But we should also discuss what the conditions of extreme leadership are. We're talking 80-hour work weeks, subscribing yourself to your career and nothing else.
Forgoing family and children.
Psychologically and biologically, women tend to lean in the direction of not making those choices for themselves, while men are highly competitive, they are highly analytical, systematic, they're willing to put in that time and take extreme measures to gain career status.
Exactly.
But in an egalitarian society, it's about having that choice to make that decision. And
Yes,
that's what feminism
But we
is about.
do,
It's
but
about
we already
having-
have that choice.
We
If
do have that
I want to go
But
own
it's
my own
being-
company, I
it's being
can.
restricted.
Like I said in the beginning, we've all agreed that the beginning of feminism was going in the right
Humanizing
direction.
women,
It
right?
was humanizing women. It was making them equal to men. It was giving us the same opportunities so that we can go vote, so that I can go get a job, so that I can drive a car. Like
She can
there's
run for
other
president if
countries
she wants.
that I know that we weren't talking about other countries, but if you want to talk about feminism, go protect the women who get beat up for driving a car in other countries.
Men are falling behind in society.
I just think, we have amazing men here today. It's an honor
thank
to
you.
be on this
You
panel
barely
with
know
you to see this masculine energy. However, I know that men are not able to be men anymore because of the feminists, modern feminist propaganda. I coach men in my practice and they tell me I don't even know what I can do on a date anymore. Can I ask a woman out? Am I gonna get
Bro, she's such a pick-me. She has to literally, like I said, suck up to the dudes on the fucking panel.
in trouble for this now? I really like her. I kind of want to put my hand around her waist, but maybe that's gonna, I'm gonna be all over social media, this kind of thing. And I think men don't have the balls anymore to just stand up and be a man, be dangerous. Be fierce.
I want to respond to a lot of what you said.
Please.
Does anybody else want?
You make a really interesting point. However, I feel like a lot of the reasons why men can't actively express masculinity in a positive way is because of the patriarchal structures that we have. Part of where I'm coming from with this is I'm trans. So I was born female. Now I present as male. I came out socially and medically transitioned at 18.
Okay.
The feminist movement is what helped me feel empowered enough to be who I am and
Okay.
be a man.
And no disrespect to your process. I know it's a very strenuous thing that you go through, but I see a woman still. I feel feminine energy from you.
No, you don't. You literally don't. You don't. You have to lie. This is the funniest part. Okay, dude, listen. I'm not a trust scum. I'm not a fucking trans medicalist. But every person knows, including all the trans people in the chat, that when you have someone who is not clockable, okay, when you have someone who is passing, absolutely, the other person literally looks like a fucking clown ass, okay? It's just passing is not the end all be all of or social acceptance, and passing is not the most important component of being trans, obviously. Let's make that clear. But it is pretty fucking funny when you got people who are like very aggressively trying to be transphobic in the face of someone who's like passing, like very, very well. And they go, no, I see a woman actually. No, you don't. You literally don't. You accidentally correctly gendered him. Okay? You accidentally correct. If I go back in the video, it's very obvious that you do not perceive this person as a woman. You're just saying that to come across as transphobic in the conversation. That's it. Like, when he said he's a trans man, you were fucking shocked. Shut up.
You.
That's all right. I
And
totally
so when you
respect
say
that.
you're a man, then it's like, I don't see that.
The way I think about it is more like about individual choice and individual freedom. And if I want to say that.
What if she wasn't, wait, what? What if she wasn't passing? It don't fucking matter, bruh. Wait, what do you mean? What?
That I have feminine energy and people view me as masculine or vice versa, then that's their problem. That's not my problem. And for me, that's what feminism is about giving people the choice to act in accordance with however the hell they want to.
But that's a
not
very
how
dangerous
feminism
society.
started. That's
to
not how
say.
feminism started, though. Yeah, we went from, wanting equal rights for women and equality for women, and now it's
Humanizing
kind of
women, right?
humanizing women,
Yes.
making it to where I think we all agree, women now are equal to men, and with like.
I love that this person literally first said, time for Buck, pull him up. Okay. Which is like actually a trans medical trust scum guy. Okay. Then said, what if she wasn't like, bro, you are so confused. This is the type of chatter who is like literally just trying to argue for the sake of argument. Okay. Like he literally used a worse example of someone who does care about passing. Okay. Then turned around, misgendered the trans man on camera, and while simultaneously trying to scold me about a thing that I had already accounted for, a talking point that I had already accounted for that I actually mentioned. Calm down, everybody.
Third and fourth wave feminism, especially fourth wave feminism, it's kind of turned into individuality, like you said.
It doesn't take a man to tell me how to be a man. It doesn't take a woman either. I can define myself as a man how I want to. I don't.
Anyway,
need
I don't
like,
think that person's a bad guy.
You're not a man unless you do this. I also don't need a woman to come up and be like, you're not a real man if you don't do this. And it's the same with femininity. I'm not going to tell you how to be a woman. I don't think another woman should tell you how to be a woman either.
So what would you tell kids?
Yeah, like he has this, you have a daughter. Do
Yeah.
you really want to be guided by the ambiguous, define yourself as however you want to define yourself, and for her mind to be molded and shaped by men who, no disrespect, women who turn themselves into men and then turn them.
Why does she keep saying no disrespect and then say some disrespectful ass shit? Like, just say, you're saying the disrespectful shit, just why the qualifier? Like, you meant disrespect. You know it's disrespectful. You don't have to say no disrespect. Like, the fact that you mentioned no disrespect before saying some disrespectful shit means you know that it's disrespectful and you're about to say it. It's such a weird thing.
Themselves back and say there's a lot of dissatisfaction when the root of the problem wasn't the gender, it was everything else.
There's actually
Let's slow
very,
down, though.
very
I
low
feel like-
I
rates
looked at the
of
percentages.
detransitioning, but
I
that's
looked at
neither here nor
percentages.
there.
That's also a minority of the population.
Feels like you're bundling a lot of ideas, which makes it hard to respond. But
Well,
I
because there's so much data to support
can you
these.
repeat what's the main question?
Do you
want me
want
to
your
answer?
daughter's mind to be formed and shaped by a society that tells her it's okay to be masculine and to be a man, and that she
Totally.
doesn't need a man?
Wait, what? What the fuck? Why would that be a bad thing? That's so stupid. Wait, what? Bro, what? What are you saying? What? Like, I don't understand. What? What the fuck? No, it's totally okay to be masculine. Yes. Does she think that like all masculine cis women are automatically trans or something? Like, what the fuck? This is so confusing. Dude, this gender being a confusing concept oftentimes muddies the waters when you're trying to like cut an argument either way, because you ultimately get back to like, you know, a gender abolitionist perspective from the right. You know what I mean?
And that it's better off for her to be alone.
Also, there's nothing more hilarious about, like, you know, the beacon of gender affirmation, okay? The beacon, I mean beacons if you want to call it, literally fucking talking about like gender affirming care being a bad thing. It's like, bro, you got honkers, dude. Like, come on. You got them awoogas, okay? Bursting from the fucking seams, talking about your medically induced awoogas as a good thing while simultaneously saying like, well, other people do it, I don't like it. It's crazy. It's wild, okay? I don't want to say anything, but like, come on now. No disrespect, but you got them titties. Like, what do you mean? You bought those.
And put her career first and not have children.
I think it's more likely than not that she'll probably follow a more conventional path. If my daughter grows up and she wants to dress like a boy, like, great. If she, for whatever reason, is experiencing gender dysphoria, like, we would navigate that together. But that, to me, it doesn't scare me. And I would all the more want to live in a world that...
I feel like that's sad. Because
Why,
it's because my son, I encourage him. I say, you are to be, and I really don't care the backlash. You're supposed to be attracted to women. And
Isn't
I tell
that a lot
him,
of pressure?
and I ask him,
But what if he's not?
Because life for transgender individuals, and my son's African American as well, is very freaking hard. I don't know if we can swear. I'm sorry.
You can.
It's very hard. You know this to be.
Dude, oh my God, I love this shit. I fucking love apologizing for saying frickin' while simultaneously saying like an endless amount of like anti-trans shit. It's so funny. Like, I'm so sorry. It's like the classic Alex Jones bit, like, oh, I'm sorry. You know, these pedophile vampire perverts on the Democratic Party. I'm sick and fucking tired of it. Oh, fuck. I said fuck. I'm sorry. This is a family-friendly show. It's like, no, you're insane. Nothing you say is family friendly. Why do you now automatically think that
True.
Asking people.
She said it's hard being black and trans. I wonder why. Yeah, exactly. That is also another really funny like liberal homophobic argument, old school. For those of you who don't know, back in the day, liberal homophobic people would say, oh, I don't want my son to be gay because the world is going to be really difficult for them. What do you mean? Okay. Like, but you're, what? Like, what kind of fucking dumb take is that? It's your job to make it easier. You can't simultaneously be the one making it harder while also be like, oh, that's why I don't want them.
Or putting pressure on your son or putting pressure on my daughter to not.
I just tell them.
Okay, but to not be their true self, if that's truly how they feel,
But that's not
feels
their
like
true
that
self.
would
No,
be.
they're not their true
that's
self.
this like
Thank you.
that's this way. It's
Thank you.
society has influenced everybody to
correct.
be
We
are
like,
so off
you know.
problem.
When you say I can
I feel-
identify, I can be whatever I want. If I want to say, I'm Beyonce today, I can now just be Beyonce.
But do you
right?
actually believe that?
I do. I kind of feel like I don't think you
Can we
believe
talk
it.
about
You
the prompt?
genuinely believe
Yeah,
it.
let's roll back.
The prompt's about men falling behind.
Here's the other thing. Men are falling behind. Is it because of feminism, or is there socioeconomic factors that we're not looking at?
Well, how do we
because,
define
well, no.
falling behind?
Let's
Yeah,
look,
what do you see as falling
What's
behind?
falling behind? So people in America, not just men, everybody is getting poor. This has nothing to do with
Well, that's
feminism.
not
Holy
true.
fuck.
No,
That's
alleged.
a mental state.
No.
That's
It's not true.
a mentality.
This is economic data. We are
I'm
falling
not getting
behind.
that.
Well,
far
you
sooner.
can blame your president for that.
Okay,
And
back
the other
to the
thing
prompt.
is, what do you define as masculinity? It can be subjective
Tell
from
us,
culture to culture.
what do you define
I
masculinity
think masculinity is whatever you want it to be. It doesn't.
Yeah. This is a classic male W here, okay? Notice how he's just bouldering through the conversation as the females' attempts at cutting in are getting fucking literally slapped away. That's a lifetime of being a man. Okay? When you're a man, you constantly fucking stop other people from talking, other men from talking, but certainly other women from talking. So notice how the anti-feminist woman is trying to cut in and he's just like, no, shut up. I'm going to keep going. he just kept talking through it. He's like, yeah, no. Okay, shut the fuck up.
It have to be this objective thing where it's like, oh, you're masculine, you're not. Like, so it could be different from our society to another society. And actually, in some countries, like men who don't provide for their families or are not the sole provider.
It's like the extremely rare moment. It is the extremely rare moment where like a lifetime of conditioned misogyny that you haven't even like that you're not even comprehending because you take it for granted is working is an extremely rare moment that is a positive thing.
Provider are not seen, and actually in some countries, like men who don't provide for their families or are not the sole provider are not seen.
But
as
are we
masculine.
talking about other countries or are we talking about the U.S.?
But even
right now?
actually, even here, there are people who will say that's demasculating for a man to make less money than his wife.
I appreciate everything everyone's saying. I do want to talk about the prompt. When I heard the prompt and I heard that, I thought about men falling behind, I thought more like mental health, like suicide is more common with men.
We're going to go here.
No,
Love
but it's
this
true. Like men
But it's such
commit suicide at higher rates.
Cop-out. Like I'm not saying mental health isn't an issue. That it is an issue, and obviously a lot of men are experiencing a lot of pressure.
Yeah. Have you heard like the term death of despair?
Men are committing suicide more. Men are dying from alcohol-related illnesses more, and they're also dying from drug abuse and drug overdose more.
Correct.
And that's an increasing trend in society.
Yeah.
And then you
That's
see
true.
educational gaps.
No, there's no denying that. Like young men are abandoning colleges at a rapid
Yeah, it's a
rate.
lot of pressure to be a man.
They're also
Like,
far lonelier than women are right now. And
Yeah,
not
women
so
are the
regarded as-
Hold on. Can I finish my point? Sorry. I'm like, don't let me lose my train of thought.
Oh, I'm sorry. Are they fucking mansplaining? What's up? Are they cutting? Are they cutting you? Are they cutting you off? You want a voice at the table? Oh no. Oh no. That's crazy. Having too much fun with this? Of course I'm having fun with this. It's like it's literally everything that they're advocating for. If these men were just horrible to them right now, they would have to take it because they're like anti-feminist. You know what I mean? Like that's the whole point. Just because they are wrong does not give you the right to be a misogynist too, Hasan. No, what gives me the right to be a misogynist is that I am a misogynist, I am a man, and this is my broadcast. Okay? And, you could just fucking cry about it on Twitter all you want, as many do. But that's the whole thing. You know what I mean? Yeah. Mansplaining to an anti-feminist is like, I thought that's what they wanted. What the fuck? It's like shaming a cuck. Also, for me personally, and I perhaps all the women in the chat who are watching as well, it's funny, the contradiction, them experiencing the juxtaposition, them experiencing the actual things that they're advocating for in that moment. That's what's funny. You know what I mean? It's extremely funny. Way funnier than the top of the hour ad break. Trans inclusionary radical misogynist. There's a better way to hate.
They're abandoning colleges. Women make up, they enroll in college at a 60% rate. Women are earning more than men nowadays, right? So.
What? Women are earning more nowadays than men? That's crazy. Did not know that was the truth. I'm learning so much today. All the women can now gift subs to all the men in the chat to help them avoid the top of the hour ad break. By the way, I'm gay. Thank you for the 5 get the subs, allowing 5 people to no longer see the ads at the top of the hour. Here's the 3-minute ad break now. What percentage of chat are women? Is it like 20% now? I mean, unless it went down, that would be 20%. I think it was like, what, 24% of the chat was women?
Yeah,
well, no, that is true.
Hold on.
We can get to the wage gap.
It's about enrollment. So are they having other jobs? Yeah, probably. But I'm saying like men are not going to these institutions. Why?
When you're saying lack of enrollment, there's more entrepreneurials in the entrepreneurial space than ever before in history. So I believe a lot of people are opting out of college as we had to pursue their ventures. So that could be part of the reason why the enrollment has declined.
Can I just go back to a point that you said really quick?
Yeah,
where
go
you
ahead.
talked about
thank you for the
like the
10
mental
gifted
health
subs.
of men and how
Me?
like the stigmatization of men addressing their mental health.
Yeah.
What system are we in that
Sure.
makes it so that men have this big stigma around our mental health where we can't
Yeah.
talk about it and the suicide rate goes
So
up?
I'll
We
tell-
are in a patriarchal system.
No,
Hold on, let me
That
tell you.
is
Let me
the-
tell you.
Those
So
are
the
those are the
way-
bounds we are within currently.
There's a lot
That's
of
toxic
Can I have
masculinity.
Mason complete his point? I'll encourage you to let the other person finish the point, and then, of course, you can take it forward, but let them talk.
Just
Same
real quick,
thing.
the systemic structures we are in
Yes.
are patriarchy. That is what has caused men to have this massive stigma around mental health,
Sure.
where we don't feel empowered to reach out. Men tend to not go to therapy. That leads to suicide. That leads to all of these big things. That's not caused by feminism. That was happening well before the
So-
feminist
Lizzie
movement
Gobbler, thank you for the
came
5
into
get
these
the
Let me
subs.
spaces.
There's a lot of psychiatrists, psychologists, and economists, professors, all these people coming out saying that the actual
Okay, Jubilee sourced this one real fucking one-sided. I'm not gonna lie. To be fair, it is hard to find like. I do think that if you're gonna be like a woman who's an anti-feminist, you're gonna be a bimbo. Like you're gonna come across like a bimbo. You know what I mean? No matter what, it's like a difficult space to find like a lot of out and about, intelligent people to very directly advocate against your best interest. So that's why she's,
economists, professors,
that's why she's saying stuff like that.
all these people coming out saying that the actual psychology department is feminized. I know.
No,
it's,
I'm processing what you're saying.
The psychology
It's weird, but the
department?
way that everything's processed.
Between 1995 and 2015, the number of women within the academic psychology workforce more than doubled, an increase in 126%, and their representation increased from 37 to 53%. Yeah, they doubled, and then finally were able to fucking reach 53%.
Is for women. So women and men process information differently. Men are like this in their brain. Women are, it's all over. And like, what the hell does that mean?
Well, it's
It
left
means
brain, right
that
brain
When you
usage.
I wish it was
process
that
like
simple.
men need to solve the problem
Correct.
before they can process the emotion.
Women are emotional.
react
My
on
wing
emotion.
woman.
Yeah, that's it.
But so women have a tendency, not a tendency, they do better with talk therapy. That doesn't always work for men. Men do better when they are kind of working with a coach or somebody that's going to be like, this is what you have to do, and then come
Like
back
massive
see how you
action
did.
steps.
That's why mentors
So-
work. That's why men need.
He had
So-
a thought, though. Can we let
Yeah.
him finish his
So,
thought?
Okay,
the
fine.
same problems with the military, a lot of the suicide rate. Even though there is therapy services, they're actually actively discouraged. And it's because of this masculine energy in the military, because it is still, even to this day, a very ultra masculine institution. And there's these negative energies saying like, hey, no, you shouldn't like go talk. That's what these fucking do.
But that's
But-
toxic
Well, it's
masculinity.
interesting
Yes,
that-
but it
That's
comes from
not patriarchy.
it comes from a
There's
place
a difference.
it comes from a place where it's like, oh, that's not what men do. Just suck it up and push on. And that's why a lot of these guys end up killing themselves.
But what branch were you in? Can I ask?
I was in the army. I
Okay.
was,
So you're an athlete, correct? And
Yes.
in the military, what is in the military that makes everything work within the military? It's a structure, right?
yes, it's a structure.
It's a system, right? Who runs the military? Who is at the very top of the command?
Oh, the commander in chief, the
Correct.
president of the United States. A couple hundred
But
years.
but I'm making a point here. So there's one person at the very top. Even if you take the commander in chief away, there's your general, right? Then there's lieutenant general, there's corporal, and I forget the, don't hate me, there's all those privates, et cetera. There's a system. One person is at the top of that system, and he has supporting members underneath him, all the way down to private. And that's what patriarchy was, quote, patriarchy was designed. It's a system of one person taking a leadership position, and they make decisions for the greater good, utilitarianism of all, meaning the family unit.
That's not really what
That-
patriarchy
Is she just, it's not even related to patriarchy. She just like argued for an authoritarian construct. Like she was like, hey guys, unrelated, but I love monarchies, for example, and I think we should have a monarchy. Like I'm in it for the hierarchy aspect of the things that I'm not even a part of. You know what I mean? I just, like, what? How is this related to what we're talking about? It doesn't matter. I just think it's sick when someone is leading a whole bunch of other people who are leading a whole bunch of other people, and no one gets to have a say in that process. I think that's the cool way to do it.
And actually, that's
It
that's
is.
a
I
very-
looked
that's-
up the definition, actually.
That's actually a very
I
ideal
literally
one.
looked it up yesterday.
I feel
No, you're good.
I
I
got
really
lost.
Damn.
need the male feminists also to respond because I feel like they've spoken 20%. Once they're done with their thought, feel free to interrupt, but let them finish.
Pussies, dude. Yeah, that's right. Fucking beta male feminist, dude. Letting the women speak. Stop letting them chirp, dog. Butt in right now. This is what happens. This is the pussification of America, right? In full display. Okay? You see that? You see that? They have internalized misandry. Okay? That's, or wait, no. Would that work that way? Is that how that, yeah, they are. They do. They have internalized misandry. Right? I don't fucking know. Yeah, I think you could say that. As a man, like when women have internalized misogyny, and then men would have internalized misandry. Exactly.
Finish the sentence.
Okay, I want to talk. I'm going to talk. I mean, I do think men are falling behind. I
Be more assertive, dog.
feel like the world is just changing in a way where men don't have like a natural place to fit in, or it's not as intuitive as it used to be. And I think men are alone. I heard you throw out the word loneliness, and that does feel true. I just don't think that feminism did that. I just think like the world is changing.
What you said really resonated with me when we define falling behind. What I think about with men is that high suicide rate, that likeliness and proclivity towards violence and aggression. I think about loneliness and not being in relationships with which young men are struggling with a lot right now. And where I feel finding common ground and feminism does get right in a sense is that we should expand our horizons as far as how we view masculinity. Men should be able to cry, they should be able to be vulnerable, and that's something that we need to access. But also, these men who are feeling disillusioned with the world right now, they are seeking out male figures. We've seen, you know, the rise of the Jordan Petersons or some of the personalities at the Daily Wire or the Andrew Tates. They are seeking out somebody who's telling them, I want you to access those masculine traits and harness them in a way. I would say Jordan Peterson's probably a more healthy role model for men than, say, an Andrew Tate, but men are going towards these more aggressive, masculinized traits and seeking out men that are trying to harness that for them.
Yeah.
I thought you made a really great point that I totally agree with, where men are looking for these role models of how to embody masculinity because we are falling behind and a lot of people don't know how to act. What's really important, and what I've seen, at least in my experience, like feminism bring up, is the idea of like Justin Baldoni doing his talk about being man enough for your woman, being man enough to be emotional, being man enough to support children. That's the type of manliness and masculinity I think needs to be embodied so that men can catch up and feel like there's a place for them. That's something that we need to focus on, is making sure that people know how to embody masculinity in a way that's going to be beneficial for everyone.
Women should also be drafted into the military.
Let's do it.
If you're gonna
She does have great drip. I'm afraid I must report on this.
vote, you might as well be drafted, baby. That's it.
Yeah, I believe rights come with responsibilities, and we are all responsible individuals. Granted, I'm glad we live in a society where we haven't had the draft since, like, I think the Vietnam.
50 years. Yeah,
Vietnam. I think
50
Vietnam.
years ago.
I do think that maybe like we should relook at the draft and as other options, not just military service. So I was in the active duty military and I was also in the National Guard, and I've fought wildfires and like I've done crowd control. I've done a lot of other things. If you want the same rights, you have to have the same responsibilities, and I think that's just universal based on what you can do and your abilities.
This was a very difficult one for me to parse through because I remember when I was getting my birth certificate changed and it was like, all right, time to register for selective service. And I was like, oh God, I have to make this decision now to register.
You don't have a choice.
I know. So I was like, all right, cool. Like I will go through with finishing all this legal stuff up and register. And I think, like you said, there's lots of other responsibilities that men and women of different abilities and different strengths could fulfill within selective service if we needed it.
I'm in favor of no military. I'm a no military enjoyer.
Correct me if I'm wrong, would be going into war, would be physically going and doing
Not
the actual
sincerely.
combat.
A lot of the draftees in Vietnam didn't go see combat. They did supportive roles.
Okay.
It's selective service, so you register to be potentially needed to call for multiple different responsibilities.
But some of them are going.
Right, right.
Some
So,
of them, there was some bad cases.
the part
actually.
that I would disagree with would be putting women on the front lines. We are physically capable to do a lot. You know, there's different boundaries for women who go into the military, who have to do boot camp, than there are for men. We can work women as hard as they can, but they're not going to work as hard as men are.
I actually got accepted into the Air Force, which would have been like very nice because I would have had a little desk job. But unfortunately, I was waiting for a job, so I went into Army. So I went through boot camp, and it was hell, and it really messed my back up even more than it already was. Our rationale skills and our logical thinking is not conducive to be able to be on the front grounds, to be able to make, oh my gosh, if I step here, this is gonna blow up. Can I, like, we just think too emotionally. And that's why when we talked about leadership, it's the same thing. Being in those positions where like split-second decision could make or break, I don't think women have it in them to do that.
Dude, that's awesome. He said women are just like worse than men at doing war, so we should just stay at home. Yeah, what a comfortable narrative. Interesting. How peculiar. Yeah, sorry. I guess I just gotta stay at home then. You know, oops. Smart.
And I don't think it's fair to men to be, if I was a man, I wouldn't want to be next to a woman and want to be carried out if my life was depending on it.
I think it seems like a lot of the same discussions keep happening with these.
I like that the dude who actually served was like, there's so many combat positions in the military, which is true. So like that completely nullifies her argument. But like, I also do think that I think it's weird that she just said like us women were dumb and slow. But that's expected. She's an anti-feminist. But like, regardless, I just across the board don't like this position because I don't think that there should be a draft for anybody. I would greatly change the responsibilities of the military in general.
Prompts, which is back and forth of how much is it nature, how much is it nurture, how much are there like intrinsic biological differences between men and women, and how much does that dictate our behavior and our physiology, our biology, versus how much of that is through social learning. So how much it's our culture in terms of,
Societal
let's say like
programming
on a scale of 1 to 10, how high is your sex drive?
Very high. I'm a sex
I'm not asking you
I
personally.
thought you were.
I wasn't asking you.
Sorry.
If you ask everyone that,
Yeah.
You'll see on average differences between men and women. And because of that, I don't think we should dictate whether or not someone is drafted into the military. Because ultimately, I think individuals should have the freedom to make certain choices.
It's a draft, though.
Sure.
They can go in if they want.
It's a
That's
draft,
the military.
and what you're saying, you don't think people should be treated differently because there can
Exactly.
be metrics
It's
that fall
differential
outside of the data.
treatment. That's
Of
what I'm
course,
getting
yeah.
at.
So there is differential treatment, but I would say that it's completely reasonable to do that because not only are we focusing on the differential treatment, but we're focusing on outcome. So if I'm expecting somebody to go into combat, which is the reason I didn't walk forward, you should also expect that person on an individual basis to be able to meet the exact same standard as every other man that they are going to be
I don't think these people have like ever actually met like someone who went through basic training. Like, because if they did, they would know that, like, no, there's a lot of fucking dudes out there that also do not fit this, like, incredible standard of excellence they are fantasizing about. No, like, you just saw a movie where everyone is a fucking famous Hollywood actor who's on trend, and, like, you know, they're all put into fake positions where they look like fucking yee-ass heroes. So now you just think that, like, that's how the army is. That's how the military is. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, that's not how this is, man. Like, talk to a veteran or talk to someone who's active duty and they will tell you. Like, there could be there could be women that could meet that standard. And there are plenty of men who currently don't, but they are, you know, still in the military.
Be fighting with.
So the
Now-
military has made a change on that, by the way.
Yes,
they
they
have a
have.
new individual test that's based on what jobs you're going to do. If you're doing more combat
Sure.
roles, yes, you have to be stronger and tougher, and there are women meeting those standards. That's
Yes,
why
sure, yes,
things
I
are
agree.
changing. And like I said, I'm not for the draft at all, really. I think it's
Agreed.
a really bad thing. But if
Yeah.
it was to happen, like, it should be across all boards. Everybody gets treated equal.
If I could choose the possibility of women being drafted or not, I would choose that they're not. Well, I don't want
saying
my
anyone.
daughter to be drafted.
I think if you draft, at least account for the differences, please.
Female sex workers should be more respected.
I don't know a ton about this topic, but I do think I subscribe to the idea that legitimizing sex work reduces the safety risks associated with that profession. It's a very old profession. It's been around for a while.
Whoa, what the fuck? She's like a pro sex worker, anti-feminist? Like, that's so weird. I don't even she's not a swerve. She's not a swerve. She's a sex work inclusionary anti-feminist. No, she is a sex work inclusionary anti-feminist. She's a SWAF. Bro, God, I love American politics, man. It's just all people with like incredibly contradictory opinions.
It's going to continue to be around.
I don't, I think it's also, there's tools out there like OnlyFans that I think has put a lot of the power in the hands of the creators.
Also, the horny sex professor with the awoogas is thinking that female sex workers should not be respected. Like, what's up? You want yourself to be the only respected sex worker, no one else? Like, I don't get it.
A lot of people don't realize, like, nobody, like, actively chooses to be in sex work. You're usually going to sex work because of social situations. And if it's a black market, most people ask why I joined the military. It's like, because I was poor. Like, there was no other fucking reason. And I'm not saying it would get rid of exploitation, but if women have legal protections, like if I was a prostitute and I could go up to a cop and say, hey, I got beat up and my money stolen, not being worried about being arrested, like, I would be more likely to report crimes and get the people who are causing problems.
Yeah, and then for the people who just want to do it and
Damn, this guy's awesome, dude. I mean, the military stuff I don't fully agree with, but you guys are great.
want to just like own their sexuality, own their body, and use it as a commodity, a way to make money, they should be able to do that in a way that is safe, in a way that they own all of the videos, all of the content that they make, and in a way that is equitable for them.
When it comes to respect, there's two definitions. Respect either can mean like politeness, like you wouldn't shut the door on somebody that's like walking behind you, like be respectful. The other respect is usually if you do something that in the workplace that garners approval, you've completed a goal. So when we talk about respect when it comes to sex workers, should we be polite to them? Probably. That would be a human thing to do. I don't have to, but yeah. I prefer OnlyFans over the traditional porn industry.
Yeah, because you own it, and then it's
women
a lot more.
got sex trafficked.
But that agency is important to
I
know
think
that it's
so,
what
yeah.
you own, and to have that respect put onto you that like this is your content you're putting out into the world.
Yeah, now it's their copyrighted material. Before, when it was the old porn industry, they didn't have rights to those videos, and that's a huge thing. Like if I want to take my stuff down, you have to go to a court with a copyright case, and it just.
That's what happened with me Mia Khalifa. That was her whole thing, and luckily now she has a very successful career doing like sports commentating and stuff. But unfortunately, that's not the rule. That's the exception, where she's been able to be successful.
But it's a role model.
Right off the bat, you said Mia Khalifa went from
Does she have a OnlyFans? Does that lady have a OnlyFans? Red lady never gonna stop talking when they call her in. I know. She must have watched that Netflix doc.
being a porn star to being a sports commentator. That is something that we should be directing women towards. It shouldn't be, okay, well, you know, she's gonna go do an OnlyFans or she's gonna be in 50 porn videos to get paid. When we're encouraging women to go out of their way to sell their bodies on the internet because that's a means to an end, we're not doing that the right way.
I fucking hate this argument so much. People make it seem like the entirety of the sex work industry is on like tremendously coercive it only operates under tremendous coercion. First of all, capitalism is the coercion, okay? You're upset about capitalism, which you're not. You love capitalism, I'm sure. Okay? But like they only hyper focus on sex work in general to say like it's so coercive. They're doing it for money. It's like, bro, you sell your body to the fucking American military, which is significantly worse on your body. Okay? Significantly worse on your body and mind and soul. Okay? You sell your body to McDonald's, which is, again, depending on the conditions, significantly worse for your body, your soul, your mental health. Okay? Sell your body to Amazon. You work at a fucking distribution facility. The idea that like sex work, especially done by consenting adults, is like worse than any of these other jobs is so fucking stupid. And it always comes with that secondary conflation that is oftentimes just like anti-capitalist, regardless of how capitalist you might be in other circumstances. But it's a conflation that sex work, all sex work is sex trafficking. Okay? Which is, ironically, creating a less safe space for the sex workers themselves. Does that make sense? It's so strange when I hear from people who are like, well, I'm critical of sex work, but I care about the sex workers. Or I think that like there's no way to do it ethically. And it's all, well, you know, I care about the sex workers and I want to defend them, but also at the same time, like everyone that buys sex work is a piece of shit and a rapist. And it's like, well, okay, so you just don't want sex work to happen. That's it. It's very frustrating. You can't compare the conditions that sex work can have to other jobs? What do you mean? I'm not the one who makes this comparison most often. It's sex workers that make this comparison. Like sex workers that are doing sex work are the ones who make that comparison. Oftentimes, because I'm a white man, people always fucking say, dude, you should speak to sex workers on this, without realizing that I have. My position on this has evolved over the years. Like I literally learned it from sex workers. The position I developed is one that I developed after talking to sex workers. But what kind of sex worker? Every kind of sex worker, from straight up people who do prostitution, like escorting prostitution, down to strippers, porn stars. The reality is that a lot of porn stars or strippers or any kind of sex worker also do most of the sex work. Anyway, I think women are sick of men telling women sex work is fine, but it affects your future if it's public. I think women are sick of men telling women sex work is fine. I mean, I don't give a fuck what women think in that regard. You don't have to do it. Do you know what I mean? It's very frustrating to me when I'm defending sex work because I'm defending my friends who do sex work and defending the industry because I know what the perspective of sex workers is. And then it like deviates into a battle between men versus women. And I'm like a pig, a selfish male pig who just wants to watch porn and jerk off. Like, I don't need porn or sex work to be able to get off. Let's be fucking real. And you say that since all labor under capitalism is coercive, that means sex work is rape because coercive sex is rape? Yeah, I understand that. I understand why they're saying that. Except sex workers don't consider it that. So it's someone from the outside hating. Like, how are you going to hate outside the club? You know, you're not in the club. And the only people that they ever point to whenever they want to say like, oh, well, I have talked to swerves, or not swerves, sorry, sex workers is always former sex workers or people that were actually groomed or trafficked under coercive conditions into doing sex work, which is not sex work. That's, you know, that's something entirely different. It's illegal. It's immoral. It's fucked up. And the best, so fuck Marx's view on this. I mean, it's not a religion, guys. I don't know why people fucking always operate on this boundary. Sex worker here, everything you're saying is right. Yeah, it's just, it is very, very frustrating. There's a lot of sex workers in this community. As someone who experienced sex trafficking, it was hard for me to imagine sex work as consensual. You will find a lot of older anti-sex work in this camp for this reason. It's taking a long time for me to modernize my views and extract my personal victimization from that perspective. Yeah, I think that's what a lot of people operate on. The irony is that a lot of illicit shit happens in what you would otherwise consider to be like ethical or normal sex work because sex workers have no legal recourse because it's not decriminalized. You get it? That's why every conflation between sex work and sex trafficking, okay, creates an unsafe environment for sex workers who want to do it consensually. That's the problem. You can't have any kind of like serious discussion on the subject matter when any kind of advocacy is met with, you're a fucking rapist, John. You know what I mean? And I'm just one person. It doesn't really matter. I'm very loud and very outspoken about this issue, and I'm very stubborn in my ways, and I refuse to fucking back away. But I do it because there's a lot of people who, unfortunately, don't want to fucking constantly get into a battle where they have to justify their existence, especially when some of that justification also comes along with legal complications. Okay? It's the same exact principle behind why I speak out against transphobia. Because I can, because I'm privileged. I'm not trans. I'm not a sex worker. I'm a cishet guy. I'm a cishet white guy. Okay? But it is very frustrating. I love how trans people have been simultaneously been fetishized and pushed so far in society they mostly end up having to do sexual work to pay bills. People argue against the same things they argue for. My biggest issue is that you immediately call people who critique the systems in place of sex work who are all swerves and rad libs, rad femmes, and so on, when in the end we all agree on the same thing. I don't think we agree on the same thing. Ultimately, the question always is going to be, do you think sex work should continue? Do you think you have issues with sex work being decriminalized? Because the reality is a lot of people say that they care about sex workers, but in reality, they just want to abolish sex work in its entirety. You get it? And so I see that. I see that a lot. I see that a lot in swerves, as a matter of fact. Sex work might be the only topic that divides the left this hard. It does. If you disagree that sex work is a valid form of work that is where the income is well earned and those workers should be respected, you might be a swerve. Exactly. Obviously, there's varying degrees of this. You have like the fucking incels who say like, you know, these women are whores and they should stop doing that. And it's disgusting. And then you go all the way down to people who are like, I'm woke and I'm a fucking Marxist-Leninist third worldist who believes that, who believes in liberating sex workers, but also simultaneously thinks that like, there should be no income opportunities, no avenues for income, and also that pretty much with the exception of like 3 of my other friends on Twitter, every other sex worker is actually being sex trafficked, regardless of what they say. You know what I mean? It's dumb. And it goes back to the same argument that I made earlier about people being like, oh, I wouldn't want my son to be gay. Okay? Because like the world would be much harder. Obviously, you're not born a sex worker, okay? But half the reason why people say, oh, I wouldn't want this person or this or that to do sex work is because you and others like you are participating in making it a less safe space. Like, half the reason why people are like, oh, well, sex workers are mistreated, it's because they're cast aside and oftentimes nobody advocates for their best interest. It's a highly stigmatized industry. They're debanked regularly, not Kanye West. Unironically, porn stars and sex workers are the ones who have a hard time, being able to get adequate banking, for example. It's just very, very frustrating to see. It's very frustrating to watch that happen to so many people that, I think are awesome and great. And then have all these other people literally turn around and be like, no, I'm speaking for their best interest. Like, you're not.
Right way, and I don't think the feminist movement should be moving in the direction of normalizing sex work when we should be encouraging women to value themselves, value their body, value their talent, and take that elsewhere.
There's a lot of things in place, though, for women. Like, yeah, there's obviously a need if they're in maybe a lower economic class or something, but at the end of the day, that's more of like a morality topic, and so you can't really force that on everybody. I agree with you.
Right. The other thing would be is that women are not happy when they're doing this. It's not empowering as a woman. You can go on Twitter and see these women who are in their 30s with an OnlyFans link in their bio, but with no kids, no husband, no specific thing to actually care about. It's all about material.
That's crazy. It's so wild that like these women don't care about the things you care about. So what? We should just like not respect them? We should not allow them to exist? Like, what the fuck are you saying? It's so dumb.
Materialistic things. These are the same women that you're seeing tweeting about how sad they are. They're tweeting about how it's not generalized. It's the majority of those women. They are on antidepressants.
I'd like to speak because I've actually been in the industry. So I was trafficked for a decade. You hit the nail. That's okay. You hit the nail on the head. I came from a very poor socioeconomic background. I was a product of the state. And so I speak from experience when I say it's not empowering, it's not glorifying, it's not owning your body. None of that stuff is true. No little girl when they're 4 or 5 says, I want to grow up and be a hooker. OnlyFans is the biggest pimp of them all. They're still taking 20%, and your content still gets leaked a lot.
I agree. I'm not in favor of any kind of exploitation. I also am uncomfortable by the idea of like women I know, if they were in that industry, like I admit, like it makes me feel uncomfortable. My gut instinct.
So you have a daughter. I'm going to be having a daughter in 4 months.
Let's just go back to the daughter.
So, well, I mean, it's a good question because you're raising a human being for the future of society that we're going to all shape. How does it make you feel to raise a daughter in a world where you can either preserve, you can either preserve her innocence, or you can step away and let her do the OnlyFans
How about respect
thing?
femininity?
It's a great question, and
the entire point of this conversation is nullified when you ask them, did your daughter say she wants to grow up and work at McDonald's? Like, it's such a stupid fucking take. Oh, no one grows up to say, I want to be a sex worker. First of all, there are an infinite amount of fucking jobs. The overwhelming majority of people don't fucking get the dream job that they want. That is not common. That's not a thing. Maybe you fucking weirdos have actually been able to achieve that because you're a podcaster, a shitty one, but still, you know, that's probably what you wanted to do, and now you're doing it. Okay? But like the idea that people get to, the idea that you're not even like anti-capitalist while simultaneously singling out one fucking aspect of work is so frustrating to me. But even if you were to say that like, well, this is something that you're doing even though you don't want to do it, it completely eliminates the autonomy that women have. Not surprising that the anti-feminists are coming up with this argument because they're anti-feminists. Half of their fucking advocacy revolves around eradicating female autonomy. But it's like, people do it. People want to do it. People enjoy doing it. Just because you don't comprehend that doesn't change that reality. You know what I mean? It makes no fucking sense. And as far as the people in the industry, that are currently active, okay, like they enjoy doing it and they want to be able to do it safely and securely. It's really, really, really fucking stupid. The entire conversation devolves into I consent. Well, as this third party, I do not consent. So fuck you. And because plenty of people say that, because sex workers are marginalized, anecdotal Andy, I don't think you think it's an anecdote that like the overwhelming majority of sex workers that are currently doing sex work in the Western world, in developed nations, doing OnlyFans are doing it because they're like, what do you mean? Do you think that they all have pimps? Like they're all being forced into sex work? Is that what you think? Most are. You said I'm anecdotal, and then you turned around and you said most women that do sex work are actually coerced into sex work. Your source is what? That you made it the fuck up? Is that where this is coming from? What are you saying? What do you say to the sex workers in the chat? They're just also like, as a sex worker, my mom is super supportive. Yes, thank you. Plenty of sex workers are doing it because they love it. Sex worker here, we've been agreeing with you in the chat. It's always like it always like completely avoids the active sex workers and what their perspective is, by the way, from the perspective of someone who like either doesn't consume it anymore or still currently consumes it but is hypocritical, or literally is like a former sex worker who had been dealt a shitty hand as a consequence of not having enough regulation in this industry, or is again going through their own. Most women in non-Western world don't have the advantage to this OnlyFans stuff. Oh, notice how I said in the Western world and developed nations? That's so funny that you immediately swapped it out to global third world exploitation. That's so crazy. I knew that was going to be your talking point, which is precisely why I literally fucking countered that before you even said that. But now you turn around and talk about this. I wonder why the goalpost just slid away. Because you can't have an honest argument. You glorify prostitution, that's the problem. Oh, now we're just having an entirely different conversation. It's okay. We don't do this. We don't sow this for most industry. I don't glorify prostitution. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. I just see it as any other form of work. And that is precisely because I know something you don't know. A shit ton of sex workers, at least not in plain sight because it's literally hyper illegal, also engage in prostitution as well. Now you're comparing it to child labor because you have 0 brain cells. Do you understand the difference between a consenting adult engaging in a consensual act of sex work versus a child who is not a consenting adult? Are you okay? Are you having a fucking aneurysm? Is your brain fine? Do you not understand how fucking disgusting that comparison is? Because that comparison literally can only work if you personally believe that these women, because we're never talking about the male sex workers, let's be fucking real. You're only talking about women. Swerves almost exclusively are like all sex workers are women and they're getting trafficked and raped by men and for the male gaze, blah, 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 blah. I've heard it all a million times over. It works around the reality in your mind that you don't believe that they have bodily autonomy like a child. Like adult women, whole ass, grown ass adult women making this, engaging in this consensual act are actually, as a matter of fact, children. They're babies. They have baby brains. Why would you compare what I said, which is consenting adults engaging in sex work, consenting adults engaging in sex work to a child? Is prostitution morally bad and questionable after all? No, I don't think it is. I don't. He's trying to say coercive, but he can't even fucking spell it. The industry is, dog, can consent not be coercive? What do you mean consent? Consent is not coercive. Are there coercive conditions under capitalism? Absolutely. That exists for every single sector, not just sex work. Do you understand? And the most effective way to ensure that there is no further coercion is through labor regulations. But any kind of workplace protection cannot happen if you are engaging in an act that the entirety of this country pretty much has considered to be illegal, whether they consume it or not. That's at the heart of the problem. And if you actually listened to sex workers, they would tell you that. Do you think every work because it's the same conditions from every? Okay, bro. I'm sorry. Listen, I love you, chatter. I hope you are here to learn. I can't keep having this conversation with you because I can't understand what you're writing. And I hope that it's just a translation issue and English is not your first language and that you're not actually like a kid or drunk or something. Do you think every work because it is the same conditions from every form of work? I don't know what this means. If you think correctly that all work is engaged in under the coercive conditions of poverty, the structural violence of poverty is what motivates people to go to work and do shit that they don't want to do, okay? You would be working to actively abolish every sector, not necessarily just sex work. Some level of coercion is something that we as a society have decided, unfortunately, is not something we can engage with, not something we can tackle in a meaningful way. Okay? Yes, I agree, but some form of work is work than other. Yeah. Like, for example, working in an Amazon Amazon distribution facility, according to sex workers that have done both, for example, is worse than working as a sex worker with an OnlyFans. Yes. I know sex workers, for example, that work in strip clubs as strippers. They have their own OnlyFans as well. They do all kinds of different kinds of sex work. And they say regularly that they much prefer working at a strip club than they did working in the fast food sector. So how does that work? Do you think in a society where our labor isn't exploitation, we will still have sex work? Abso-fucking-lutely, I do. Yes. 100%. Yes, I do. Especially because it is something that they derive pleasure from. Like that's I do think that. 100%. Isn't that literally the center of your argument? Yeah, absolutely. People love the fuck. I do it to your mom for free. You know what I mean? I enjoy it. Consumers of sex workers on here telling you it's wrong when they have multiple contacts in their phone. I mean, it's the same logic as playing video games. If you're enjoying what you're doing, why not make money off of it? Exactly. I mean, clearly OnlyFans type. Okay, so this is actually a good aspect of this conversation. I mean, clearly OnlyFans type jobs, once you post them, there's no going back to the pictures are out there for life. Working at Amazon is temporary depression. Exactly. But what you're talking about is the social stigma that needs to be eradicated. What you're talking about is how we as a society view sex work. So if you recognize that, you have two options: continue further stigmatizing sex work, or recognize that that should not happen. People should be able to exit out of it no matter which way they want to with ease. Sex workers should not be stigmatized. And that starts with decriminalization. That's it. Like you're describing an aspect that basically haunts every sex worker, that people literally point to as a reason as to why sex work shouldn't exist, but people trying to eradicate or abolish sex work in and of itself is furthering that stigma. Does that make sense? I have a Fainsley, and even though I'm not successful on there, I still prefer Fainsley over working at my other job at Dollar General, which sucks ass. Think you're being taken advantage of? No, I'm not. Literally always going to be a market for dudes who want to pay for sex. Dudes, women who want to pay for sex too, which is a smaller group, but still. Notice how all the sex work conversation almost always entirely revolves around female sex workers being victimized and ruined and destroyed. The element of misogyny and the patriarchal constructs that you're reinforcing every single time that you have this conversation is glaringly obvious because you never talk about queer sex workers. You never talk about male sex workers. You never talk about gay sex workers. There are so many aspects to sex work. No, not because it's way smaller. No, not because it's way smaller. Because the argument literally revolves around what puritanical, patriarchal weirdos has said it as. Okay? That's why. And the entire argument also ends up infantilizing women who want to engage in it consensually. Another aspect that often is overlooked about sex work is the top of the hour ad break. Sex workers make enough money to be able to afford the $5 a month subscription to avoid the top of the hour ad break. Cuba still has sex work, even though 99% of it withered away after the revolution due to the improvement of living conditions. Is so different than Johns are often treated as extended family. The best way to reduce unwanted sex work is to make it unnecessary while decriminalizing it. Mando Ewok, thank you for the 5 get the subs, allowing 5 people to no longer see the ad break at the top of the hour. Hassan's femboy masseuse. Thank you for the 5 get the subs as well.
There's two
Here's the 3-minute ad break now
that I feel like I can hold at the same time. One is I would be very uncomfortable if any female relative was, or person that I loved, was exploring that profession. Like I would have
You can't even say it.
I'm trying to be as
But as a
as like
father
professional as I can.
specifically, Yeah, as a
it
father
shows that you
specifically.
fail.
No.
No?
I don't think that I'd fail. I would have complex feelings to navigate.
Yeah.
On a higher level, I don't think that there's anything inherently wrong with that profession, and I respect people who do it in a way that's fulfilling to them and that brings them happiness. If someone's doing that job and it doesn't bring them joy, obviously I would not.
But most of
encourage
the
them.
women
But you have to
are doing it
understand it's
aren't
not bringing
fulfilled.
value or happiness to women.
I'm just trying not to wrap it all into one bundle because there's going to be exceptions. I think you just want to be careful of like putting.
Being an anti-feminist woman, as someone who was like formerly sex trafficked, is so crazy. What is this? Holy shit! Sex work is intrinsically meshed and interdependent on sex trafficking. No, don't do this, dude. You just linked me some fucking Twitter swerve, dude. Are you kidding me? Why would you do that? I don't wanna hear from them. Every single time they fucking yell at me, they say like I'm trafficking children and shit. Don't ever do that again. They're fucking insane. They're in here already. Then they say, oh, Hasan is sicking his like perverted rapist audience on to onlookers. These little old me. Meanwhile, their entire fucking perspective revolves around dunking on some of the most marginalized people and making their lives harder and less safe.
Being a negative label over like so many people's lives.
I think should be negative though, so that young daughters don't run to her. And why don't we have more respect
them
for
enough to
femininity
love them, to
versus
direct them a
respect for
different
sex work?
way.
Men should take birth control.
Are the swerves in the room with us right now? Bitch, what do you mean? There was like a 29-month subscriber who was literally a swerve in the chat trying to fucking argue with me.
Huh.
That's an interesting
I think it should be a choice.
Well, male birth control does exist. The problem is there hasn't been a lot of funding into
Right.
making it commercially available. It's about making it an equal responsibility.
Yeah, male birth control does exist. It's called being a fucking podcast listener. It's called being a fucking crypto bro. Yeah, or Twitch.
Ability all around, especially if there's a more effective way, like a pill. They can't just whine about the side effects when they know that it can significantly decrease a woman's quality of life when she's dealing with all those side
Her
effects.
chance of
I agree with
fertility, her chances of, I've never been on birth control, and I don't believe in taking it. I don't believe in putting anything like that alters my body. I'm not saying either party should have it, because personally, I don't think that anyone should put that stuff in their body. But if one's gonna do it, and then the other one should have the option of doing it.
Yeah, if we're in a world where women have the access to it and men have the access to it, should is just such a strong word.
so strong.
Make the choice for your own body. That's why I didn't walk forward. But yeah, if you both have the option.
If men had the right to birth control, then they would ultimately be coinciding and deciding if a child should come to life. Right now, women ultimately
Have all
have
the
that
power.
decision. No matter what you say, she gets to decide if she goes through with it or not. And I think that's kind of problematic for many reasons, but yeah.
It goes back to why I stepped forward with the military draft. Everyone needs to take responsibility for people's sexual and reproductive health.
But are you saying that because you know that women would want a guy to take birth control? Like that's more of like you want to please the feminists?
Please myself, because I'm a feminist.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying like male feminists have a tendency to have the talking points, and they're like, women want us to take the birth control, so I guess we will, but like, do you actually think that you would?
Why wouldn't I?
Why don't you get a vasectomy?
I did.
Did you?
I have a vasectomy.
So there he did it. All right.
Okay.
Fucking own, dude. I mean, that's, you just say, yeah, I did. Own.
Yes.
I decided to get a vasectomy because I wanted to play a small, very small part in having men take more responsibility for their sexual and reproductive health.
Wait,
And
what the fuck? I mean, okay, first of all, I mean, I'm glad that he won that argument, but like, I also don't understand why, like, what? I don't know if he knows this, but like, there are other methods. Like that, what? Why is he making it seem like, is he married? Like, cause I get it. If you're married and, you know, you wanna, if you're married, then that's fine, right? Like that makes sense.
And once I learned more about vasectomies and the procedure, it seemed like a no-brainer for me to get it. I've known for a few years that I didn't want children, and so I'd been thinking about getting a vasectomy. And then Roe v. Wade got overruled, and I just looked into it, and I started doing more research on it, and free of insurance.
Yeah, I was going to say.
No side effects. It's an outpatient procedure, so you go in, 20 minutes, you're out. I went to work the next day. You should not take it if you have any inkling of a doubt about not wanting biological children, because it's not 100% reversible.
But in some cases they do it, yeah.
Right. It's preposterous to me that it's only about 5 to 6% of men in the US have a vasectomy, because definitely more than 5 to 6% of men in the US don't want to have children.
Kids. That's true.
Yeah,
because it's like condom,
with hormones. I know why.
vasectomy. There is no there's no middle ground between the two. And I think it's because of patriarchy. I know you hate me using that word, but like I think it's because we prioritize
gynocentrism. That's why. Listen, we have advanced so much. You don't think they could come up with a pill at this point? Think about it.
They've come up with one. It's not
just
commercial.
There's not a market for it.
Gynocentrism is like a.
Okay, so I want to hear from the disagreeers.
One thing that I do agree with is the fact that birth control has a lot of.
What the fuck is gynocentrism? Oh my God, I fucking get up for a moment. And then immediately miss out on some insane shit.
That's why.
You hate me using, and I think it's because vasectomy. There is no there's no middle ground between the two, and I think it's because of patriarchy. I know you hate me using that word, but like I think it's because we prioritize
gynocentrism. That's why. Listen, we have advanced so much. You don't think they could come up with a pill at this point? Think about it.
They've come up with one. It's
not
just commercial.
There's not a market for it.
Yeah, I wonder why. Bro, the funniest part about this is like, if they had like a male birth control that you could take like a pill, okay? If there was a male birth control that you could take like a fucking pill, they would, like, there's no way. There's no fucking way that it would be as harmful and would have so many fucking side effects that I know that there's like a new thing. No, I'm just saying there would be no way that it has like the same amount of side effects as like female birth control, okay? If anything, the reason why it doesn't fucking is not mass produced or whatever is possibly because the reason why it's not mass produced is possibly because like it probably has similar side effects to female birth control. They make more women birth control because they want to control them out. Most of health is men's health. The reason why we have so much women's birth control is because we want to control them, not because we are doing more studies on women's health. Yeah, that's such a fucking stupid take if that's what she was trying to say. And it's also part of the reason why female birth control is just like kind of dog shit. The studies on it were brutal and pulled out of it. The scientists ended the study because of unethical. I love how this is completely neglecting how many women use it just for managing hormones. There's that element too.
Gynocentrism is like a...
Okay, so I want to hear from the disagreeers.
One thing that I do agree with is the fact that birth control has a lot of side effects. And if I'm not going to take that, and a lot of people aren't going to take that and have the side effects, then I don't think men should have to either. I think we live in an over-sexualized society.
What? No one says women have to take the birth control pill, weirdo. What? I guess the conversation is that men should take birth control, I guess.
Where we're trying to, yes, find...
For the record, I would literally 1,000,000%, just so that everybody understands, if there was some birth control without like any sort of fucking insane side effects, I would absolutely take it in a heartbeat. 1,000,000%. Male birth control study killed after men report side effects. I assume the side effects were probably similar to female birth control, and they killed it because it was men. And it's not seen like pregnancy for men, cis men, is not a life or death scenario. So the stakes are not seen as high. Does that make sense? So even if there are like minor side effects, you're not going to be able to justify it. And there's not going to be a big market for it either. No, if you read the study, the rates of side effects are a lot higher than women's birth control. Men are literally babies. That's it. I mean, I think men are babies, but I get why they would not fund something like this.
Ways to solve this issue because you cannot stop everybody from doing it. Why not preserve and protect yourself and not go around and sleep with
I'm Muslim,
everybody?
bro. The stakes are always high.
There's a
very
small group of people that believe that, mostly in the faith-based communities. But as far
that's
as
your right to be able to do that and make that decision, and you totally.
I just don't think it's ever going to get.
I don't think it should be like imposed on everybody type of a thing.
I'm not for male birth control by force. If somebody wants to take that, yes, but I think there needs to be more comprehensive research and stuff. Female birth control is a little sketchy at times because there have been incidences where they've had to recall stuff because they kind
Multiple
of,
times, yeah.
I think one of them was like the old Yaz. They had to recall
Yeah.
it because it was causing like blood clots or something.
Yeah,
Like,
that's very
most
common.
birth controls cause.
yeah,
That's
and I hope we get to a place where
Yeah.
we're not using things where hormones, because the other thing is a lot of people don't get blood tests to check their hormones on a regular basis. And actually, technically, birth control, female birth control is an oral steroid.
Yeah.
So that's what it is. It's actually a 19-nor, and like people are taking steroids.
This guy knows a lot about
Find out decades
steroids.
from now how harmful this actually
has
is, probably
and-
for
and-
both sexes.
And like
Unfortunately, like the pharmaceutical industry is so based on profit that like if they think men aren't going to take male birth control, they're not going to put in the research, they're not going to create it, they're not going to invest in it. So if we socialize and say, hey, like this is a responsibility men should also have, then we can get research into all birth control to make it safer and more effective for everyone, so that we don't not everyone has to be like experiencing these horrible side effects.
Being a mother is the most valuable thing a woman can do.
You are a mother. I am almost, I mean, I am a mother, but she'll be born later. When you choose
Dude, that's that's such an insane, what the fuck? I mean, that's a wild thing to state, dude. That's so weird. Like, all the women who can't give birth for one reason or the other, but have like become, I don't know, world travelers and fucking, you know, profoundly successful individuals who've saved the lives of thousands. Like, you know, take this fucking L. Sorry, you didn't incubate a child. I mean, I'm not like one of those, you know, anti-kid Andes, you know what I mean? I don't, like, I want to have a kid one day, right? But it is still wild to just have this kind of perspective where it's like, no, it's literally the most important thing. By the way, Tucker Carlson has Trump on tonight, and I cannot wait to watch this shit because apparently it's just Tucker Carlson just sitting there and eating shit, according to Kat at least. Clock is ticking, brother. For me, the clock is not ticking. I don't know if you know this or not, but like, you know, unless I have some complications, which, you know, who knows? Maybe my sperm ain't working, but I've never tested it. But my clock will be ticking forever.
to have a kid, you're putting aside not necessarily what you want to do in the future, because I believe that women have every opportunity to still pursue what they want to do, even becoming a mother. It's very fulfilling in a sense to be that selfless, to bring a human being into the world and give everything to them and watch them grow up and become their own person, and to feel that love unconditionally that something materialistic will never.
Sperm potency is directly correlated to the hairline? What does that mean? Like your sperm potency decreases when your hairline decreases too?
Give you.
Yeah. I honestly don't remember my life before my son. And it really makes me sad today that more women, 10 years, more women in the United States.
Or are you saying worse hairline is better sperm? Because if that's the case, ooh, oh my God, I got some fucking good ass sperm, brother. You know what I'm saying? The marvels of modern medicine is holding this shit together, but let me tell you something, okay? If it wasn't for that, I would not be there, okay?
Will be opting out of marriage, out of children. That just is insane to me. It's innately in us to nurture and to love and to care and to create life. We literally give birth. It's an ability, a gift, and it's also, too much is given, much is required. It's a massive responsibility to raise a child, knowing that, as someone said earlier, your children are going to be the future of our planet. Wow,
And again, I want to hear more from the disagreeers.
We're running the moms through the dirt.
Yeah, I think this is so weird. Like, being a mother is not the most valuable thing a woman can do. It can be a wonderful thing. I don't know. I feel that to be so odd to just like link a woman's existence to the birth of a child. I don't think that being a father is the most valuable thing a man can do. You know what I mean? Am I crazy?
Dirt. That's what I heard.
I think it's going to be the most valuable thing that I do in life to have children and create a family. It's just such a subjective thing, and there's so many things that people contribute to the world. And for, I think, most women, when they leave this earth sitting on the deathbed, they probably will think the most powerful and valuable thing they've ever done is to create children. You know, there's like the famous quote, the greatest two things that you can leave on this earth when you die is art and children. And I think a lot of people are going to feel that way.
Actually, no, literally.
Value to
like, imagine if men were running around being like, being a father is the most valuable thing a man can do. I feel like that would be, like, people would look at that and go, no. If anything, people would get away with saying that more because everyone is under the assumption that that's literally not the fucking, that's not the case. You know what I mean? It would be considered unique if it's a man. But when it's a woman, it's like, am I crazy about this? I don't know.
somebody who doesn't see that as
I understand.
Or somebody who can't have kids or just chooses not to.
Right.
You know, there's
can
other
adopt.
ways to achieve greatness. But being a mom is a great thing. I think we all.
Being a good mom.
Does anyone?
Being a good mom, yes.
Yeah, a good mom. There's a lot of people who are moms, not
That's a
everybody's a
good
good
point.
mom.
I was raised by a single mom. On top of that, I was also adopted. So my birth mother had to make an incredibly difficult choice to decide not to pursue raising this child. And then my mother, who is a single mom, raised me and raised my siblings. The thing is she was also like a teacher and a professor and a principal and an administrator. Honestly, what feminism really should be about and is about is making it so that women, if they choose to be a mother and just do that for their entire life, they get as much respect and value and everything that they should be afforded as someone who decides to be a billionaire CEO as a woman.
The feminist movement is teaching women that it's the worst thing you could possibly do because you're gonna lose your money and you're gonna.
I disagree, and I think sometimes I think sometimes some people live in echo chambers, and that might be a problem. But like, also, here's the other thing: are women not having children because it's economically difficult? Because in America, it's really hard to have a kid. It's really expensive. We don't have health care. We don't.
You're fine, but not everyone.
I know,
is
but
fine.
I'm saying
like,
that
like me and my
the act of
girlfriend-
having
me-
a kid
me-
takes. Two people.
Yes, but me and my girlfriend, we could probably afford a kid, but we right now it's probably not good because of
And
our
you're making that
situations.
decision. And
But here's the other thing: not everybody has that decision to make, and it's actually economically really hard to have a kid in this country. Somebody's gonna have to stop working. Somebody's gonna have to make less money. There's not health care.
When I had my son, I had no means. I had been trafficked, obviously. I made the decision to see it as life and to have the child. And I had the child, and I was homeless in Newport Beach 8 years ago. When my son was just still nursing, 10 months old, worked around the clock and didn't stop until he was almost 5 years old, so until I got my degree. Well, 3
How do you
credits.
handle childcare?
And the county pays for it. That's why I'm trying to say we do have resources. I was a full-time
Yeah,
student,
but that's
and because
Newport
of
Beach.
Like,
That's not everywhere.
California is
And
one of the more
dissect
If you're-
every
if you're a
county
single
and
mom-
see which counties offer it.
California is one of the more
Yeah.
exceptional.
So I do think there's resources if you look for them. And I don't think that just saying, oh, it's expensive to have a kid. Like,
Woe is me, I can't have a kid because I'm too poor. No, we live in a country where, like I said earlier, we have the opportunities to pursue.
Cheat day? This is a protein. Basically a protein bar, brother. You're so miserable. Woe is me. Nah, dude.
What we can and what we want to do. And I don't think the feminist movement has any place to tell someone that they're too dumb or too poor.
No one is doing that. No. The entire concept of feminism is literally giving women the choice. Sometimes giving them even the choice to be dumb bimbos like you. Okay? You have every right to do that. If you want to see yourself as a baby incubator, you could do that. Pop off. I fucking absolutely hate right-wing arguments where it's like, I hate right-wing arguments where it's like the movement towards giving women autonomy is actually telling people that they can't have the autonomy to go and get an abortion if they want to, or raise a child if they want to. It's so stupid.
To be able to have a kid.
Oh, absolutely not. No
But
one
that
should be
is what
saying-
the feminist movement is doing.
I agree. Yeah, maybe it's not as cool or fashionable to become a parent. Maybe like that's not, what people are valuing. Feminism to me, and I think to the other guys here, is just like viewing the sexes equally and feeling like they should have equal opportunity. I don't think it expands much beyond that. No one here is saying it's not cool to be a mom, or women shouldn't aspire to be a mom if that's going to be fulfilling to them. If that's like your path, by all means, I think you should do it. My wife was very specific and like direct with me when we started dating. She's like, I want to have kids. This is important to me. Are you on board or not? And that was a goal that we set for ourselves. But she's not just a mom. You know, there's other things. She has other ambitions. And she can do both of those things, and I think we all feel that that's possible. So when I hear you say, you know, like feminism is saying that like moms can't do this or don't be a mom, I'm not sharing that experience of that information.
We don't shame motherhood. Like our side, we promote it a lot of the times, but whenever you hear the opposite thing, it's usually from the feminists.
No, what?
Men need to be masculine to keep their families safe.
Of course he's going to step forward. Look at him.
Yo, she is too horny. She is way too horny, man.
I think there's a reason why people love Andrew Tate. And whatever you think about him in regards to what he's being accused of, which he has not been proven, but that's neither here nor there, men gravitated toward that. Why? Because he spoke to men in a sense of being a man, being a protector, and you have to be in charge of all your faculties and think more critically. So those aspects of masculinity appealed to men because men want to innately protect. If I go on a date and you take me out on a date and he's like, no, I wouldn't. But that's
Wait, did she just promote Andrew Tate as a sex trafficking victim? Hello? Is anything she's saying consistent at all? She's literally anti-sex work because she's a sex trafficking victim, but simultaneously pro a guy who's currently under investigation for sex trafficking women and raping them? What the fuck? Stockholm syndrome would imply something different than you think. She's not. She's a grifter. It's not Stockholm syndrome. She's grifting. The inconsistency there is deliberate. It is by design. It's because she's trying to appeal to conservative values. And when you want to do all of the conservative values, when you want to push for all the conservative values, you're going to inevitably end up with inherently contradictory ideas.
It's okay. And you take me to a dinner and you don't sit facing the door, I'm never going out on another date with you. It's not like we're helpless, like, oh, I can't do anything. But having a man stand by you, protect you and your family and your children, masculinity is very important.
There are situations, like, for example, like, I'm like 230 pounds, my girlfriend's like 110, 5'2". Like, there's no way if somebody breaks in a house that she's gonna fight them off, unless she has a gun on her or something. But so in that situation, I would fill that masculine role. But like anybody can be strong. Anybody, like in a situation where I'm not there, I would hope if we had kids, she could protect them and defend them like the best she could. Where I get the issue with like, oh, men need to be masculine. It's like, oh, men need to always go work and bring the money and all this stuff. Because my girlfriend, she's highly educated. She actually makes way more money than I do, like way more. I work as a personal trainer. I don't make as much as she does.
The idea that like, dude, he seems kind of sad. The idea that like men are, you know, riding into combat in this like hypothetical situation where someone is like doing a home invasion is so funny because like, dog, we live in a society, okay? Like we literally live in cities for that fucking reason, so that like that doesn't happen. You greatly reduce being absolutely owned by the elements that you no longer need to brave by like living in a house, you know what I mean? Or having like some form of shelter. It's always like, what about when shit hits the fan? Look, I'll say this, okay? Like, I know how to handle myself in tricky situations, but it is so wild, to me at least, that like that's what we're operating on. It's like men have to fucking, you know, destroy their opponents. Like dog, when push comes to shove or when shit hits the fan, okay, in a lot of instances, you're just like fucked. You know what I mean? It's awful. You know what it looks like in the modern USA when shit hits the fan? Waco and Ruby Ridge, yeah. Oh my God. I just found the sex coach lady and one of my friends is a testimonial on our website. Oh my God, that's so embarrassing for your friend. Have you never walked a female friend home at night or to her car because she didn't feel safe? Same concept and kind of valid. Yeah, but what you're describing doesn't always have to be because you're like this big towering man. There's like strength in numbers as well. You know? Other women also walk their female friends. It's literally like the buddy system. You can be like a skinny dude and still do that. You know what I mean?
It is traditionally not very masculine for a woman to make more money than a man. And I know some people, they will be like, oh, you're not a real man if your woman makes more money than you. That's pathetic. Why is she with you? You sound like a loser. Things like that. And I don't let that define my masculinity. I used to be insecure about it, but now I've grown more mature. And I feel like we're getting to a society where that's less of a problem. And like some people might disagree with this, and like, but it's just my opinion. I think to raise a son, it's easier if you're a man. It doesn't have to be a father. It could be an uncle or some positive role model. Same thing with a positive female role model, because like, I don't know.
Song gets evicted because of VR. Oh, I'm so glad you found this clip. I was talking to Tens and Kaide about this. When I was like, apparently she like terrified Tens one time when he was playing VR and he thought he was dead. Like he thought he died. Okay. And I was like, I know what that feeling is like. I almost died too. How do you think you died? I thought I died. It was terrifying. What happened to someone walk in? Yeah, my brother did.
It's like to be like a female.
Let's finish
puberty,
this.
But I was a young man. Right now, a lot of our young men are misguided, and a lot of them are making bad decisions. And it's because like a lot of these young men get this testosterone boost. Their brains aren't fully developed, and they like the vast majority of crimes are committed by 16 to 23-year-olds.
The reason I walk forward is about exactly what you just said. Men have these feelings and this aggression often deep inside them, and it's about using that aggression or those feelings that you have to protect rather than to inflict.
I guess I'm just not entirely sure what like just masculinity in general has to do with keeping people safe.
Could I quickly respond? And that I
Yeah.
just think it's that men have that natural propensity towards it. If I think of roles in society that are protectors, we could say police officers, anybody who's going to take on that role of physical aggression in order to stop a bad situation from happening. Men tend to take those roles. And if you just look at the demographics of those roles in particular, men choose to take that on and they persevere and drive for it.
Let's say I get married to a guy and he wants to be a stay-at-home dad. That's fine. I enjoy working. So I actually wouldn't be totally opposed to me grabbing the gun if an intruder came in and being the one to kill somebody if my husband's normally like the one protecting the kids, I guess. I don't think it necessarily matters who's protecting the family, just somebody must.
I like what you said about intuition though. Like my wife has a lot of intuition. I think she's better than me at like helping us avoid unsafe situations.
But to physically combat a stranger that's at your door with a gun, a mask on, and is breaking in.
Yeah, it's convenient to have someone who's more like him than.
But would you send your wife
But I
who's
just don't think
intuitive to
men-
use her intuitive power?
This argument is so stupid. This is literally the same argument that XUC had with Andrew Tate, no? Hey, how about this in this hypothetical situation that I made up in my fucking mind? Like, what would you do then? How would you react then in my made up hypothetical scenario? Okay, well, in my hypothetical scenario, my significant other is Ronda Rousey. There you go. Or, you know, she's a trained fucking marksman, okay? She's like one of those, like, World War II era Russian female snipers, okay? Yeah, what if they're bears? What if we're being attacked by bears? Who defends us then? You know what I mean? It's like while we're in the business of made up scenarios, just raise the stakes more. You know what I mean?
Powers to handle that, to protect, or would you use your masculine? My daughter's protected. I'm going down there.
If we get attacked, I'm going to do everything I can to protect my
That's-
family. That's not men having to be masculine. I just think that's people protecting those they love. I think when women are put in situations where they have to protect their families, they can exert tremendous force. Obviously,
True.
they're more vulnerable because they're not typically like as strong on average.
Pumped full of testosterone, right?
But
Why-
I just don't think like this is something men have to do. I think you gotta be careful about putting pressure on men to embody some sort of like macho, tough, violent.
I don't think it's macho.
I've had men in my life who like embody that tough role, and it like creates uncomfortable environments. It sometimes invites aggression, danger to the situation. It's a certain role playing that I think men actually.
He's not even wrong, but like, God, it is hard to fucking overcome the social conditioning that you learn from the systems that we live inside of, because he's right. But even then I'm thinking like, oh man, he's so soy. You know what I mean? Like he's right. He literally is correct. He is so right. But like simultaneously, I'm just like, oh, I should do better. You know what I mean? I should, like, while I'm thinking it, at the same time, I'm thinking, you know, I should fucking be a better person and agree that it's correct and not, you know, not feel that way. You're such a misogynist, man. I mean, true. I am the most misogynistic. Why don't you paint your nails anymore? I like eating my nails too much. That's the major reason. It's work too.
It's beneficial to grow out of.
Why do you think it's a role, though? What if that's just who they are?
It's innately in them.
Well, then I think they should go to therapy and work on it, or
But
like
why do
play
you
a
think
sport and get out that aggression.
So I understand.
Aggression isn't bad.
I always hear from other male feminists like, oh, that guy's trying to be a macho guy. Why?
Absolutely.
So here's the thing. I think sometimes it's not genuine. He's playing a character. Actually, I'm usually the one to de-escalate situations because of how I look and how I am presented. So I de-escalate. And actually, I always tell people I always encourage young men, avoid the fight.
Yeah.
If you can avoid it, stay away. But if you have to, obviously do what you have to do, like survive. And I would say to women or anything, but don't start and actually try to deter, get away, because violence should be always the last resort. Violence only brings more violence.
The differences between men and women should be celebrated.
I'm talking about poles of energy. We have polarity in everything in the universe, from the battery. You can't put two negatives into a battery and it work. You can't put two positives, has to go flop. So there's poles day and night. Everything, yin yang, it's energy, and we are energy.
I don't think everything's polar though.
It is, though.
Why apply one lens to the whole
Well, you just stepped
universe?
forward with the prompt that said that masculine
think- men
and women's differences should be celebrated.
I want to celebrate the difference between men and women, but I feel like you have this tendency to apply sometimes like these quantum or
Because
like
because we live in a
these
quantum
macro
universe of
ideas
masculine and
to
feminine
everything.
energy.
But you
It
guys
just
do
doesn't
the
have to
same
be
thing too, though.
I think he's just saying to celebrate differences doesn't mean we exist on two opposite poles.
And I'm saying that.
Yeah,
So
like,
I'm saying that.
There's things exist in nature that are triangles or triads. Like not everything's yin and yang. You know.
But
It's
it kind of is. I actually believe that the masculine energy is a little bit elevated in a sense that they have more responsibility as protector, provider. And so for women, we like lean to them and we look up to them as the leader. So not to say that they're not equal, but there's a little bit more responsibility in the masculine field. And without those outlines of structure, then we have chaos and we don't have a society. We have no more children because women aren't having children anymore.
I don't think I fear chaos as much as you. You threw in a little nugget. I have to take it. You do see women as not.
I don't see them as the same level as men.
I would encourage you, like, from a loving place, to just maybe challenge that. Like, how might your experience change if you saw yourself?
I think women are.
Bro, how do you have this conversation with a woman who's like, yeah, I think women are lesser than men? You know what I mean? Like, how do you even have this conversation? Like, why am I even having this conversation with you then? You clearly don't believe that. If you believe that, like, your position is lesser, then, like, why am I listening to you? You know, I, as a man, know better. And what I'm saying is that, no, we have equal rights. How about that? You're a woman. You know less. You believe that you know less than me. So there you go. It's like radically misogynistic feminism, which is this perfect solution to anti-feminist women. You know what I mean?
4 quarters, a guy is $1. I think they're equal, and they're just not the same.
Yeah, I think that the prompt and what I really took to is that it's so important for you guys to celebrate your femininity and celebrate what it means to be a woman for you, and we will joyfully celebrate that with you, right? And likewise to us. However we want to express our masculinity, that should be celebrated, right?
And, and whichever way you had to do it, and like, you know, like I said, I don't think it's as rigid as like we want society, well, like some people want us to think it is, but it should be celebrated because there are innate differences that are like just biological, and there's going to be those differences, and you know, there shouldn't be anything frowning upon, like, you know, women being like more softer or emotional, it shouldn't be something frowned upon. But if a man chooses to be that, that shouldn't be like, that's feminine, that's not masculine, that's...
I didn't hear that guy, fourth guy speak once. Yeah, he popped in, said, I got a vasectomy, bitch, and then walked out, dude. Like, he literally just came in, said he had a vasectomy. He was like, my job here is done. Let the rest of the fucking dildos describe being a feminist. I've done my work.
You know, we should celebrate those qualities in people.
Can the disagree a step forward?
Men are more enslaved than ever before.
This is a tough one, huh?
Shit.
I agree with most of what everyone said. It's just the should. I agree that the differences between men and women can be celebrated, and I celebrate it. I think most people do to some extent. Do as you please, yeah.
I feel like it's important to celebrate.
Check Janelle's website. Grifter charges $13 $1,333 per hour for tantric therapy body work. Still in the sex work game up against sex work. Oh, God, I love right-wing grifters. They're so transparently, like, against the things that they claim that they are. It's pure projection. It's always the same. It's literally, whenever they're like, Hasan, you don't live by your values. You claim to be a socialist. It's like, no, motherfucker, you don't live by your values, and you think everyone else is like you. Okay? It's like Andrew Tate being like, porn is bad. Also, I sex trafficked women, but porn is bad.
Celebrate it because I know for me, part of with gender dysphoria, I really enjoyed.
Body work is not sex work, you grooves. No, I think it's tantric body work that makes it, you know, sex work, I suspect. Where? Also, she is also what do you call it? I think Tantra in India is more complex, but tantric body work in the West is 100% about sex. Kind of dumb question. What do people mean when they say we should celebrate our differences? Like, what differences? I don't know.
You know, emulating and having masculine traits and being a man. So being able to celebrate that and say, all right, fantastic, I can celebrate that this is a different thing than what my sex assigned at birth would tend to go for. But celebrating both sides of those things and the dichotomy that may be different is really essential to allowing anyone to really just express themselves the way they want to.
Thank you guys. You guys were all amazing.
Thank you.
Very good sports.
Yeah, I wish we could do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is like sexological body work. Certified bodywork and sex counseling around Los Angeles. I don't know. Maybe it's not. That's what she does. Wait, what? Bro, this is her link. Helping you. She's anti-sex work. What the fuck? How to attract the high-value women. Archetype quiz for male. Archetype quiz for female. Top 10 ways to last longer. Why is the website just so jiggly? Bro, it's like weirding me out. Why does it keep jumping up and down, dude? What the fuck is going on? What the hell is going on? Oh man, that was fucking painful. I'm not gonna lie. I can't believe